Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bello Malik with fellow ID FE 23 641 602 64. I'm in Cohort 2. I'm from Osun State, Nigeria, and my ALC is called the Founders Hub, also in Osun State. I am here today to showcase a machine learning app called ESAAM. ESAAM simply means Exploratory and Sensitivity Analysis app for 3-entity training. Now, ESAAM can do a lot of things. You understand? But most importantly, it allows its user, you and I and every other data analyst and every other data enthusiast out there to check if truly the 3-entity program can bring Nigerian youth out of poverty. And if it does, how many youth, how many households can the 3-entity realistically actually bring out of poverty? But before I get into the nitty-gritty of what ESAAM can do and what's the backend algorithm behind ESAAM, I would love to start from my inspiration. Well, ESAAM was inspired by my community manager, Mr. Lukman Adeoti. Mr. Lukman, good evening. And anytime we go out for outreaches or events, Mr. Lukman often asks this scenario question. Say, imagine if one 3-entity fellow is to grow out of every family in your state, that 3-entity trains one fellow from every household in your state. Imagine the number of persons, the number of households that we can bring out of poverty. Well, ESAAM is an answer to that question, and not just restricted to Osun State alone, but to a scale of Nigeria. So what does ESAAM really do? Well, like I said, ESAAM is a customized web app that's based on the light GBM model, or a customized light GBM model. And it has a side web scraper tool that collects data from the 3-entity fellow selected site. Once it collects that data, it combines it with multi-dimensional poverty data that was worked upon by National Bureau of Statistics, coupled with the United Nations, that measures how households and persons are poor on very and several dimensions of poverty. Then it combines that data with average salary costs that we get from PayScale, Glassdoor for every training course that 3-entity does. It also combines that data with the household size, the dependency ratio for every state in Nigeria. And combining all of these things together, ESAAM can predict how much poverty can 3-entity program reduce in Nigeria, and also tell you at the same time the number of households and persons that poverty reduction can impact. And yes, ESAAM can do this with about 86% accuracy, which is fair. However, to achieve that good level of accuracy, ESAAM had to borrow details from the official 1-year impact data that was released by our able Mr. Dr. Bosun Tijani a few weeks ago about the Cohort 1 fellows. Now, from that data, we realized that the completion rate for Cohort 1 is 73%, with only about 11% getting job at the end of the day. Yeah? Now, what ESAAM does is that it uses this data, these facts, to fine-tune its parameters, and it uses something called the Bello distribution to do it, such that out of all the total registered fellows on the fellow selected site, ESAAM uses a Bello distribution of a baseline of 73% to know the possible number of fellows that will complete in subsequent fellows. Now, it further uses 11% to know those that will be employed. And once it knows those that are employed, what ESAAM does is that it assigns something I call the SP ratio. The SP ratio is now the number of times that an employed fellow earns above the poverty line, which at the time I was writing the codes for ESAAM was still about 53,000 naira. So, for example, let's say data science, entry-level data science, according to Glassdoor, pay rate ends about 150k. So that means we'll be expecting the SP ratio to be like 3 times the baseline poverty level. Now, ESAAM uses Bello distribution to fine-tune, to reassign the distribution of the fellows so that it can train itself on the live GBM model. Now, beyond that, ESAAM will tell you, okay, this is going to be the reduction possible, and it's going to allow you to do some sensitivity and scenario analysis on that particular data to know what are the possibilities that you can see. But enough of myself talking about what are the things that ESAAM can do, and let's go directly to the PyCharm IDE environment to show us the possibilities of ESAAM in real time. So we are going to take a pause from this presentation and go straight into PyCharm so that I can show you what exactly ESAAM can do. And if you have more time left, we can look at what are the most important parts of the codes that make up ESAAM. So let's head on to PyCharm now. So this is PyCharm. We are there already. So let me try and run the ESAAM IDE demo1.py. Okay, as you can see, once I run that on my local machine, it's going to take a while, and voila, we are looking for ESAAM. So now, okay, so we now have our ESAAM running now. So as you can see, I modeled it after the 3-entity dashboard because I love it so much, and it's just the easiest thing I can quickly lay my hands on to get this ESAAM interface. So now, what ESAAM allows you to do is, okay, you can scrape the data from the fellows websites. There's no time I will have showed us the separate codes and how the web scraper is working, but like I said, it's just like an ad hoc that will build in line with ESAAM. Let's say you now have your data from the fellow sites. I have about 69,000 plus scripts from the fellows data websites already. So if I put that in, it's going to load up, allow you to load up, and automatically it's going to show you some basic exploratory analysis from the data you just uploaded. And from this, you can see We have a data set of about 69,000 fellows coming from 36 states, including FCT. We have a moderate distribution of males and females, and yes, an average MPI of 0.257, which is what is on Nigeria now. And you can see a lot of some charts here telling you about the distribution of males and females in percentage, telling you about the distribution of males and females by cohorts, the horizontal bar chart that you can see there. And you can also see the distribution of fellows by courses. So this one tells you a little bit about your data just to familiarize yourself with the data. And at the same time, it's going to tell you about the top states by the agenda and the MPI. And look at this speedometer over here that I had. It's tell us what percentage of the data you uploaded is of 3 million, because the target of 3MT is about 3 million. And it's only also going to tell you, okay, what are now the total number of fellows for each of the 37 states, including FCT, that we have. Now, it's also going to tell you, okay, what are now the distribution by courses throughout all the states. And the part I like the most about this exploratory part of the ESAAM is this clean data featureable table. And what it does is just that you can pick up any of the data sets and filter it by any dimension that you want, and export that data to another business intelligence tool, let's say Power BI, let's say even Python, let's say Tableau, and play around with the visualization as much as you want. Let's say, for example, you can come here, we want to know the total number of fellows that are male in the Federal Capital Territory. To take a while to load because the data is quite large. So there are males, then let's say males. And those that are in cohort 2, and let's say I want to know those ones that's doing data analytics, and you can see around there telling you that it's still running. So it's a large data set. So give it time. It's running on my local machine, so it can be faster on yours. So I want to see those are in cohort 2, taking data analytics in Federal Capital Territory, and they are all missed. So I just click cohort 2, and once I have that, I can filter. So once I have that, I can click on filter, give ESAAM a while to think, and voila. Since now I have all of that, you can see all of the courses here are now those that are taking data analytics and visualization. They are in cohort 2, they are all missed. It's going to tell you a lot of other stuff, bunch of other stuff about them, and you can easily just click on download here. You can see it's going to download for you as a CSV file over there. You can, like I said, you can simply check and export to see if it's actually what you want. You can see that. So you can export these, about 55 of them, as you can see here. So you can export this and plot on any data visualization tool as you want, and that's all. And you can see so many details there for you to just now. But the more interesting part of ESAAM is actually not the sensitivity part, it's the dashboard part, it's the sensitivity part, which is where we get to answer Mr. Lukman question on national scale and try to simulate different scenarios that are possible with 3MTT in terms of poverty reduction. So let's give ESAAM to do his thing and put us into the sensitivity analysis part of the so you're welcome. So now what ESAAM automatically does is use the data that you give to it, especially if it is less than 69,000, then to train itself. You understand? And as you can see that, you can see it's giving you the error which is less than about 1, 2, which is about 2%. Then you can see the accuracy almost 86%, that's 5.73%. Now this will also try to show you, okay, it's going to try and plot the actual poverty of each state against what is predicting. The predicted MPI here is what you are seeing as the orange color, and the actual MPI is what you are seeing as. You can see that there is not much difference in the lines, telling us that ESAAM is actually doing quite well. And ESAAM can also tell you the importance, the sharply explanatory index, telling you which of its feature is contributing more to reducing poverty in terms of MPI. And from here, we are noting that ESAAM 3MTT, I mean, yes, it's reducing poverty more in terms of increasing the rural livelihood of people, how much people get to live very well in rural areas, and at the same time it increases their standard of living in those areas. Yes, it contributes a little bit to people actually being educated and all like that, with only very, very slight index when it comes to the list. These are all the other dimensions of MPI, and that's what ESAAM is trying to tell us there. Now, with ESAAM now, like I said, it's on the baseline scenario. ESAAM uses a completion rate of 73% and a job placement rate of 11%, as you can see here. And from this data, it's telling us that if we have just 100 fellows being trained by 3MTT, and each one of them is earning half of the poverty line, that's 0.5 SP ratio, you understand? What ESAAM is telling us here is that the predicted poverty is going to be 0.252, which is a little bit lesser than the actual MPI. That's telling us that almost 2% reduction in MPI. But let's now see what happens if we increase the number of fellows and we try to play around with the SP ratio, having all of them earning about 2 times of the current poverty line, and we still maintain the same completion rate. ESAAM is telling us that we are still going to have a reduction index of about 1.12%. And you can see what ESAAM is telling us that yes, some states are still going to have their MPI not really changing. That means they're having more poverty, and why some states are having their poverty getting reduced along the line. You understand? And by then we'll be having about 950,000 households are not currently in poverty, but we still have almost 6 million plus still in poverty. And you can see the distribution here by this chart. But let's now say we have a higher employment rate than what cohort 1 saw in the official 1 year impact. We have more people being placed in jobs. You can see ESAAM is telling us that we are having almost 4% reduction in poverty index in the country because of, and you can see there's a significant reduction in the MPI across many of those. You can play around with this. You understand? You can decide to see it in a full screen mode and see what is it that you can do with all of them. You can play around with all of that. Now, what I want to focus here on now is I can see ESAAM is telling us that if we can have about 52% of cohort fellows, about let's say 7.4 million of them already trained, and we have 52% of them getting jobs at the end of the day, we are bringing almost 3.8 million people out of poverty in Nigeria, households out of poverty in Nigeria. The most intriguing part of it is just that we'll be contributing almost 1 billion naira to the economy of the country. Let me show you that so that you see the beauty of 3MTT as ESAAM is trying to tell us. Now you notice here that I increased the cap of 3MTT to like 33 million. There's a reason for that. I say, okay, let's say we want to now increase our capacity of 3MTT and not stop only at 3 million and consider 13.8% of the population of Nigeria. 13.8% here is important because that's the, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, that is the total number of youths that are currently not in education, employment, or training. So let's now assume that we train very close to them and we are having an higher salary rate of about 4 times the poverty line, and we have a higher completion rates and a little bit of higher employment rates. Let's see what ESAAM will tell us about the poverty reduction index in Nigeria. It's saying that it's roughly about 4%, but let's try and increase the employment rate to a little bit of unrealistic scenario and make the salary a little bit more. So you can play around. That's what the whole essence of this, and it's telling us that it goes a little bit higher than 4%. And let's increase this and go a bit higher. Let's see maximum. What's the maximum possible reduction that we can even have? Curious about that. So wow, you can get up to 7% reduction in poverty in Nigeria because of 3MTT. And we'll be having 22.6 million households out of poverty. It's only a little bit still in poverty. You can see out of poverty now, it's now taking over the in poverty people households in Nigeria, and will be contributing about 3.9 trillion to the economy. Imagine the influence of that on the real GDP of Nigeria. So 3MTT, according to ESAAM, which is fairly accurate, and in fact it's more than fair, it's 6%, it's good actually. You can see the accuracy increases with more data. You can see it's 6% accuracy, and you can see the reduction in MPI telling us that 3MTT is actually a very, very good program. So with that out of the way, the importance of this program is just that this app is just that beyond 3MTT, other stakeholders are trying to bring up new initiatives in Nigeria. They can try to use machine learning, data science to tell us the impact of their program on other metrics of the country, economic, socio-economic variables of the country, way before they even think about what to do and all. And from that, I would say we'll call it a day. It's nice that I've had the opportunity to present my own knowledge for the month as well. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for your time. And now I know the time is not enough for me to round up everything. So this particular demonstration was only showing us how ESAAM works. I've made a full comprehensive report on the workings of ESAAM. The code of ESAAM has been open source on my GitHub repository on every time 2023. It's free online, you can check it. But the full report of 3MTT, the ESAAM, has been documented as well in the full official report showing the workings and the thinking process that brought up ESAAM. So it's also be part of the post which this video will also be released. So thank you so much. It's nice being with all of you.